11, we're glad you're with us today. We begin with new information about a shooting at an apartment complex that killed 2 people and left another hurt. The Jefferson County coroner just identifying the victims as 76-year-old Carlton Allen of Birmingham and 43-year-old Sonny Arrington from Tennessee. Birmingham police now believe the shooting stemmed from a family argument. They say a suspect shot into an apartment complex on 20th Place in Inslee just before midnight Saturday night. That suspect was taken into custody and is believed to be related to the men who died. The case is still under investigation, and we will update you when we learn more.
Birmingham police confirmed 2 men were killed and a woman was injured in a shooting at an apartment complex in the Inslee area late Saturday night. Investigators say the incident happened during a family gathering. This is about Jasmine Allen, a 35-year-old Walmart employee and mother from Birmingham, Alabama. In the hours after a family funeral, something happened that would leave police rushing to a Birmingham apartment, and her own family forever changed. But to understand how one funeral led to multiple crime scenes, we have to go back to the first death. Jory Brown was a 29-year-old man living in Fairfield, Alabama, a suburb of Birmingham in Jefferson County. He was someone's son, someone's cousin, someone's friend. To his family, he wasn't just a name in a police report. He was a constant presence in their lives. Social media tributes after his death painted a picture of a young man who was loved deeply by his family. His mother, Katisha, had already buried one son and was still grieving that loss when Jory's life was taken from her. Now she was facing the unimaginable reality of burying a second child. Jory had close cousins, including Jasmine Allen, who worked at a Walmart in Fairfield. She was a mother and was in a relationship, living a life that from the outside appeared stable. The bond between Jory and Jasmine appeared close based on her social media posts. In her social media posts, Jasmine frequently referred to Jory as Kuso, a term of endearment, and shared photos and messages that showed them interacting regularly. That sense of normalcy collapsed in the early hours of November 30th, 2025. By the time deputies and Fairfield Fire and Rescue arrived, Jory Brown had already been shot multiple times and was pronounced dead at the scene. Birmingham police say 2 men were killed and a woman was injured in a shooting at an apartment complex in the Inslee area late Saturday night. Investigators say the incident involved members of the same family. When they arrived at the scene, they found Jory Brown suffering from multiple gunshot wounds. Fairfield Fire and Rescue responded quickly, but there was nothing they could do. Jory was pronounced dead at the scene. The investigation moved swiftly. Investigators described the incident as domestic in nature, meaning it involved family members rather than strangers. No weapons were detailed in public releases, but what was clear was that this wasn't a random act of violence. This was family hurting family. Law enforcement officials have not disclosed how many people were present at the apartment during the gathering, but investigators confirmed that several individuals were interviewed in the hours and days following the shooting. In cases like this, accounts can vary widely, particularly when witnesses are grieving or emotionally overwhelmed. By December 1st, 2025, just 1 day after Jory's death, detectives obtained a murder warrant for 27-year-old Alicia Mona Brown. She was already in custody, having been booked into Jefferson County Jail at 11:18 a.m. on November 30th. Public jail records show that Alicia Brown was booked into Jefferson County Jail and held without bond, facing a murder charge that would likely keep her behind bars for years to come. The exact relationship between Alicia Brown and Jory Brown wasn't explicitly detailed in official reports, beyond the word relative. But the family connections would become clearer as this tragedy continued to unfold.
And let's start first with the double homicide in Birmingham from overnight. A woman is now in custody after a deadly shooting in Inslee. 2 men were killed and another person was injured. Here's what we know so far. The shooting happened just before 11:30 on Saturday night in the 1400 block of 20th Place, Inslee. Police say 3 people were shot, 2 men who later died, and a woman who survived with non-life-threatening injuries. Investigators believe the shooting was domestic in nature. A woman was taken into custody on the scene, but police have not released her name or any other details about charges.
In the days after Jory's death, family members turned to social media to publicly process their grief. Among those mourning was Jasmine Allen, Jory's cousin, whose heartbreak was evident in her words. In one post, Jasmine wrote, "I'm effed up, man. This killing me inside so bad, Kuso. I'm numb. Praying for Katisha, the kids, and our family." The language she used reflected shock and emotional exhaustion. In the days that followed, those closest to Jasmine noticed that something wasn't right. Jasmine reposted another family member's message, adding her own commentary about the unimaginable pain Katisha was facing. Katisha's post was a prayer, a cry for help from a mother who had already buried one child and now was facing the unbearable task of burying another. The weight of losing Jory was crushing this family, but what nobody knew at the time was that this was only the beginning of their nightmare. Because as the family prepared for Jory's funeral, as they made arrangements to say goodbye to a young man whose life was stolen too soon, something else was happening.
Shooting happened Saturday night on 20th.
Woman arrested in a double. We have more breaking news to get to for you in Birmingham. A woman arrested in a double homicide in the Ensley community.
Well, that shooting happened Saturday night on 20th Place, leaving 2 men dead and 1 woman injured. Now, Jasmine Allen now facing capital murder and attempted murder charges in this case. Police say she left the scene after the shooting, which they believe was a domestic-related argument.
43-year-old Sonny Arrington and 76-year-old Carlton Allen died in that shooting. We learned Arrington was visiting Birmingham from Tennessee. He was in town for a funeral. The woman wounded in this shooting is expected to survive.
In the weeks before Jory's death, Jasmine shared several posts on Facebook that later drew attention from family members. In the weeks leading up to Jory's death, Jasmine shared posts describing vivid and unsettling dreams. Dreams of shootouts, of being attacked, of violence swirling around her. At the time, the posts appeared to reflect anxiety and emotional strain rather than anything specific or predictive. And then, just 48 hours after Jory died, just 4 days before his funeral, Jasmine posted something even more telling. In another post, she wrote, "My first Sunday not working and I literally had a nightmare after nightmare, talking about no sleep at all. I was in a shootout by myself against 100 and they was throwing bombs at me while I was running through Maddie Gills. Then I had to fight a serial K. Like, what do these dreams mean? Don't laugh at me." Several relatives later said they noticed changes in her behavior during that period. Those observations would take on new significance only after what happened next. The family planned Jory Brown's funeral for Saturday, December 6, 2025, drawing relatives from multiple states back to Birmingham and Fairfield. It was meant to be a quiet moment of mourning before the family returned to their separate lives. What happened next would turn a family farewell into something far more devastating. Saturday, December 6, 2025 arrived heavy with grief as family and friends gathered in black and red to honor Jory Brown's memory. Photos and videos from the service showed a family holding itself together as it said goodbye to a life taken too soon. After the funeral service ended, the family continued gathering at a barbecue later that evening. According to those familiar with the gathering, the barbecue was not planned as a large event, but rather as a continuation of the day's remembrance. As the evening went on, relatives who had traveled long distances remained together, catching up after years apart, while still processing the shock of Jory Brown's death. The gathering took place at an apartment in the Tuxedo Terrace complex on 20th Place in Ensley. Ensley is a neighborhood in Birmingham where several members of the family live. The gathering was meant to be a safe space, a place where family could share memories and support each other. Among those who had traveled to Alabama for the funeral was a man named Sonny Dwayne Arrington. At 43 years old, Sonny was from Clarksville, Tennessee. He wasn't just attending as an extended relative making an appearance. Sonny Arrington had a real connection to this family. Sonny Arrington was a car salesman from Clarksville, Tennessee, married and raising 7 children with his wife. He was Jasmine Allen's uncle and had made the trip from Tennessee to Alabama to pay his respects to Jory, to support his family during a difficult time, to be present in the way that family is supposed to be present. Also at the gathering was 76-year-old Carlton Rufus Allen. He was a 76-year-old Birmingham resident and Jasmine Allen's great uncle. As the evening continued, the gathering stretched late into the night. People ate, talked, and shared stories about Jory as the evening wore on. As the clock pushed towards 11:30 p.m., an argument broke out inside the apartment. The exact details of what sparked the argument remain somewhat unclear, filtered through witness accounts and family whispers. But what is known is that a dispute erupted between Jasmine Allen and her sister. According to witness statements, the argument between the two sisters escalated into a physical altercation. After the argument, Jasmine Allen left the apartment. Shortly thereafter, she returned, and gunfire followed. Gunfire was reported at the apartment complex around 11:30 p.m. Police later confirmed that several rounds were discharged during the incident, leaving 3 people with gunshot wounds. When Birmingham Police Department officers arrived at the scene, they located 3 victims who had been struck by gunfire. Carlton Rufus Allen, 76 years old, was pronounced dead at the scene.
Prosecutors allege he was fatally shot during the incident involving his great-niece. Sonny Dwayne Arrington, 43 years old, was also pronounced dead. He had traveled from Tennessee to attend the funeral and was among those fatally wounded during the incident. A third victim, later identified as Jasmine Allen's sister, was also struck by gunfire and survived her injuries. She was wounded, shot during the chaos, but she would survive after being rushed to the hospital. Police said multiple rounds were fired during the incident and that bullets entered the apartment, striking several people inside. Investigators have not described the shooting as an assassination or a pre-planned attack. Court records indicate that multiple family members were struck during the incident. 2 hours later, around 1:30 a.m. on December 7th, Jasmine Renee Allen, 35, was arrested in Bessemer with assistance from Bessemer police. Prosecutors charged her with capital murder, alleging that 2 people were killed during the same incident, as well as attempted murder in connection with the shooting of her sister. Under Alabama law, a capital murder charge carries potential penalties ranging from life without parole to the death penalty. In Alabama, capital murder charges are reserved for a narrow set of circumstances defined by state law. One of those circumstances includes cases where prosecutors allege that 2 or more people were killed during a single course of conduct. Jasmine Allen was booked into Jefferson County Jail and held without bond. The woman, who just days earlier had been posting heartbroken tributes to her cousin, was now sitting in a jail cell facing the rest of her life behind bars. What was meant to be a gathering for mourning became the setting for 2 additional deaths. Neighbors in Ensley told local media they were stunned by the violence, saying it felt different because it involved members of the same family. In the days after the shooting, some family members shared posts on social media expressing their own perspectives on what had happened. Local leaders urged residents to avoid speculation and allow the legal process to unfold, while also acknowledging the emotional toll the incident had taken on the neighborhood. Community members described the incident as deeply unsettling, not only because of the loss of life, but because it happened during what was supposed to be a private family gathering. Several residents told reporters that while violent crime is not unheard of in the area, beyond many negative online comments, investigators have not publicly identified any evidence linking past abuse or family history to the shooting. One question remains unresolved. What circumstances led to the series of events that ended in 2 deaths and criminal charges against a family member? Several people who knew Jasmine Allen said they had not previously seen behavior they associated with violence. Public records reviewed at the time did not show a prior violent criminal history. Investigators have not publicly identified a specific motive, and the full circumstances surrounding the incident have yet to be established in court. Till now, we have never fully understood what pushed her to that breaking point.
As of today, Jasmine Allen remains in custody without bond while awaiting trial. Alicia Braun, who has been charged in connection with Jory Braun's death, is also being held without bond. Court proceedings for both women are ongoing, with no trial dates publicly announced as of the time of this video. In cases involving family members, courts often take additional steps to manage courtroom security and protect the privacy of individuals who are not directly involved in the proceedings. As the legal process moves forward, the case is expected to involve multiple court appearances, including bond reviews, pre-trial motions, and evidentiary hearings. Prosecutors and defense attorneys will likely examine forensic evidence, witness testimony, and investigatory procedures in detail. Birmingham's 2025 homicide statistics include this incident as part of the ongoing violence in the city. But this wasn't gang violence or drug-related crime. This was a family destroying itself from the inside out. The case has left multiple families grieving, with questions that may only be answered as the legal process continues. What do you think about this tragic case? If you want to continue following this case as it moves through the courts, or explore other stories that examine how ordinary moments can turn tragic, you can subscribe for future updates. And if you have thoughts about this case, we encourage you to share them respectfully in the comments.